Alrighty. So we finished the Bible study for week 5, but there was some terminology that we had discussed today, and I just want to go through some of these phrases because these are phrases that are streaming and in our consciousness on the media, movies that we watch now, all the different platforms, and this digital economy that we are in. You will begin to see this more and more as we go into this event that we are in to get to the second coming of our Messiah. Now, I just use a basic search engine that any of us have. So you type these in to your favorite glue, and you'll be able to pull these terms up as well. If you want a copy of it, shoot me a message or a text, send me an email, messenger, Facebook that you'd like a copy of this, and I'll be more than happy to get that for you. Oh, let's see. Hang on here. Oh, I need to... All right, now when I do this at work, I need to... How do I... Where is... Now at work, I know exactly how to record. Well, you know how it is when you're doing something new. Alrighty, let's see. Size, position. Nope. Hang on, I do apologize. I'm learning this. Meeting, okay, meeting. That's the one? Okay, meeting. Camera, mic, view, more. Mic, camera. Alrighty, record. Well, I don't know if I hope it is. Well, we'll know. So if it's not, I'll figure it out in the future how to do that. So no, I don't think that it is. View, change your view, more actions, background, language settings. Oh well, it ain't working. So we'll just move on. Okay, over the next years, we will begin to see some of these terms coming into our, like I said, into the zeitgeist that we're in right now in this present age and in the consciousness that is going on in humanity now. That's what zeitgeist is. It means in the spirit or in the present time, what is currently happening culturally, religiously, philosophically, intellectually. Those are the things that are happening universally. Each of these events will eventually converge until we reach the phase of critical mass, and there will be no turning back. Think of the Passover and Exodus event. It had reached critical mass. There was no turning back. And he said, if you don't place the blood on the lintel and the posts of your doors, I'm coming through there. I'm giving you a way out, but I'm warning you, the angel of death is coming through. But only when I see the blood will I pass over you. So in order for us to have and to pass through some of the events that are coming upon the earth, we need to be sure where we stand by faith in the name of Jesus Christ, his life, crucifixion, death, burial, resurrection, and him reigning and returning. We must believe and hold fast to that. Because that kinetic and invisible war of the heavens is then going to spill visibly here, physically upon our earth. So we must be vigilant, trusting in the almighty power of God alone. There's Jesus only. When the Mount of Transfiguration, and they looked up and they saw Jesus only. It ain't going to be no Moses. It's not going to be no Cliff Notes. It's not going to be Jesus and Jesus with, Jesus and Jesus alone. So let's go to our first term here. The uncaused first cause. Let me enlarge that, make sure that you all are able to see that. All right. The uncaused first cause is a phrase, that which moves without being moved. Something was doing the moving. Even if there was a big bang, something was doing the banging. There was something there to make the bang, that event happened. That event horizon, somebody was there creating that event. So that's what an uncaused first cause, not a created thing. Creator brought everything in motion. It brought everything into existence. That's a Latin phrase meaning prime mover, primum movens, a concept that was also advanced by Aristotle during the classic Greek age. A primary cause is what he calls it, the first uncaused cause or mover of all the motion in the universe. As it implies in the name, the unmoved mover moves other things, but itself is not moved by any prior action. Nothing else needed or could have been here before he was. And we know the first cause, uncaused, is no other than Messiah Jesus. The next phrase that we look at and that we had mentioned today in our study was the word dominion. And this information was gleaned and pulled from the Birthright. I will be combining that with the Passover King by Travis Snow. Birthright by Timothy Alberino. Birthright, the coming post-human apocalypse and the usurpation of Adam's dominion on planet Earth. Out of Alberino Publishing in Bozeman, Montana. Copyright 22. You can get these pretty economically, and it's moving up on the charts even after 4 years. 2020, this is still a good Christian bestseller. You want to know the purpose and meaning behind everything, the meaning of why we're here, what is our purpose, what is the plan for me? That's the good start right there, along with Dr. Michael Heiser's web page. Go through that Naked Bible podcast. Go through those chapter by chapter, verse by verse, Genesis through Revelation. Dr. Michael Heiser, may he rest in peace. He passed of cancer, I want to say October, November 2023. Please glean and gain anything from our present age teachers and apologists now proclaiming and sharing, expounding, and making the Word of God relevant and clear to us in our time. So, dominion is the power or right of governing and controlling. It is sovereign authority, rule or control, domination, and currently enforced by the armies of heaven, of the heavenly hosts, with the Archangel Michael defending Israel. And I think that is phenomenal. Alrighty, let me turn this on live over here. So if you bear with me. Trying to rotate mic. Turn the volume up over here. Alrighty, so thank you for being here. Down the rabbit hole with Sister Pastor. We're going over some terminology on this week's Bible lesson of the Passover King, including with it Birthright by Timothy Alberino. Some terminology that we brought up, and I just want to go through a few of these phrases because so we know what's going on and that you're seeing already in movies today. Immortal. So what does that mean? Something being exempt from death. Immortal. It does not die. Exempt from oblivion. Imperishable. Something that will not perish or fade away. Connected with or relating to immortality. Now, humanity does not have immortality. The death was upon us because of our abdication, giving up that birthright, giving up the right to rule, was given over to the dragon as his princes, the prince of the powers of the air. Jesus came and reclaimed and restored that back to us. But we're of the clay and the soil of this earth. He couldn't take it away, but we could abdicate it, give it over. And sadly, through the garden and that sin and rebellion, that is what happened. Jesus came to reverse and judge all of that. Satan's rebellion for being a more intelligent being, tricking and deceiving Eve to eat. Adam, the command was given to him, the man, by following his wife, he ate. So God really could have just wiped her away. He had probably 12 more ribs. He could have started all over with a new Eve. evening, whatever he wanted to name the next one, but he didn't. So we are not immortal. That's why it was necessary for us to have and partake of that tree of life. We have to be removed because he wasn't going to allow us to stay in that stench of sin and then eat of the tree and then live in that raggedy way out of fellowship forever. We were expelled. So we are not immortal. We can have a death, and the angels and the adversary can too. Well, no, because he'll live forever, but he'll be living forever separated from God in the lake of fire. So there is a place for him. Gehenna is real. All right, the next word we went over was defection. Defection is a conscious abandonment of an allegiance or a duty as to a person, a cause, or a doctrine. Desertion and defection kind of go hand in hand. Service person, they deserted their post and they just left it, or they went and defected from America to Botswana. They want to be a citizen of that country. They renounce America. So that is what defection and a desertion. Insurgent, the enemy and his insurgents. You hear that phrase a lot. There was a revolt, there is a revolt, and there will continue to be a revolt. As the man of sin is revealed, we move further into that strong delusion. There's going to be more powers, thrones, and authorities revolting against. So insurgents are a person who revolts against civil authority or an established government, especially a rebel, not recognized as belligerent, or one who acts contrary to the policies and decisions of one's own political party. Insurgent, infiltrator. Entropy, something that is degraded. You may have heard of atrophy. If you had an illness or you've had a cast and you have to have that physical therapy again because you forget how to move the muscles and sinews and the bone. It feels funny and don't quite feel like your limb, or you lose a limb. A degradation and losing something. So it's going from its peak performance, ideal. There's no any higher place. You're not perfecting, but you are degrading. You're going down and down to the basest, lowest common denominator. And that's what sin did to us. It put us back to the most debased of humanity. So it's the degradation of matter and energy in the universe to an ultimate state of inert uniformity, entropy, and the general trend of the universe toward death and disorder. And there was a quote by James R. Newman. The Passover, which is what we are emphasizing, Passover, passing over, making you exempt, freeing or delivering or rescuing you from a judgment or something that happened to them that did not happen to you because by some means you were passed over. Glory to God. So Passover in Judaism is the most sacred festival holiday commemorating the Hebrews' liberation from slavery in Egypt and the passing over from the destructive forces, sparing the firstborn of the Israelites or Hebrews when the Lord smote all of the land of Egypt on the eve of the Exodus. So dominion, the power or right of governing and controlling, sovereign authority, rule, and domination. And we had talked about that in Genesis 2 and in Genesis 1 and Genesis 3. You will have dominion over the fish and the fowl and everything. It is subject to you. You will have dominion. We are of the soil, man of the earth. Dominion of this planet was given to us. No other agency but to man. But in our sin and rebellion, that is forfeited. It is abdicated. We just renege on it and give it to someone else. And glory to God, it was a long road to get us back redeemed, but redeemed Jesus did. So that's control, rule, or domination that the adversary usurped and is still trying to usurp from those who have not placed their faith and trust in Yeshua. Now, the next term that we went over was birthright. Birthright is a right, a privilege, or possession to which a person is entitled to by birth. You were born with that, being of the seed of Adam, son of Adam, birthright that is given to you. Think about the monarchies that we have today, and one of them's wife, we ain't seen her in 92 days. I'm not going to say any names, but everybody's wondering, where is she? And they threw out a video yesterday, and you blow that up, you know, they could have got a better image. They could have faded it much better. You can look at that and know that it's not that princess, but I just hope she doesn't go the way of the other princess, which was so sad and terrible. But your lives being in a fishbowl like that and the pressure on them, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. All the best to her, and I hope everything is okay with her and her prince. But birthright, the firstborn, is granted to the firstborn. However, in God's move, through his bait and switch, you know, God came in and he would reverse that curse. If there's somebody despising his will and his way, of detesting that, seeing it as insignificant, he can bypass, he can cross over it. So think about those first three firstborns. It was reversed and it went to another son. Think about Cain and Abel. It wasn't for Cain. Think about Ishmael and Isaac. Ishmael was the first. It was a reverse. Think about Esau and Jacob. Firstborn, Esau. But he despised his birthright. What is that to me when I'm hungry right now and about to faint? Here, you can have a birthright if I can have some of this stew. So for some malto meal and a little hash, or corned beef and hash, gave up the birthright. Switch. Ephraim and Manasseh. Jacob said, I know what I'm doing. This is how it's going to be. Because God, through that progression, the son of Adam was going to come through a seed and a lineage. And he was strategic in everything that he did. All of this prophesied before they even ate the fruit in the garden. God starts the beginning with the end in mind. He already knew. So whatever it is you're facing, God knows. He's already worked it out. You don't have to work out a thing. Trust him. Continue to believe on his word and his promises. He's going to make a way for you. So now, here's the word of the day, abdication. This is the big thing that we have talked about today. That you've given up something or you pass it over. It is a failure to fulfill a responsibility or a duty. And we can't allow, for an example, we can't allow such an important cause to be undermined by such an abdication of authority, responsibility. So there would be a phrase or a sentence that would be used in an act of abdicating or renouncing the throne. Pope Benedict did that a few years ago. Hadn't been done in 400, 500, 600 years in the papacy, that somebody gave it up, renounced the throne, that let somebody else move in its place. They died, and then the cardinals would come in and vote in another pope. That doesn't happen. In the last 6 months, I believe it was the Queen of Denmark abdicated, gave up her rule to the monarch so that her son could now be king. So it does happen, but rarely. And it happens with us when there's idolatry. When we allow someone else the obeisance that is due God. That is the rebellion. And remember what Samuel told Saul, rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. And he said, it is better to hearken and obey. And this is like witchcraft when you rebel and disobey the will and rule of God. Abdication is an act of formally relinquishing monarchical authority. Abdications have played various roles in the succession procedures of monarchies. And idolatry is our sure path to abdicate, to give up our own right, rule, and authority over to the adversary, because we're giving obeisance to him, following his way and will. Do what I want. Go ahead and keep despising if you want to, other than God, and you will see what happens. Be careful. Be careful. What's the phrase? You play with a puppy, he'll lick you in the mouth. All right, so usurp. Here's another phrase that we talked about today. during our Bible study. And this is just going through the Word document. Some definitions that we had used today. Usurp. What is usurpation? To usurp is to take position of power or importance, whether illegally or by force. Dominion belongs to man. We're of the earth. Belong to no one else. The right to rule, he said, and have dominion over the earth, Adam. Dominion. But through rebellion and disobedience, it was abdicated. They gave it up. So in that sense, the adversary usurped that dominion to reign over humanity. So it means to take a position of power. Let's see, where was it? Oh, an example. To seize and hold a position, office, of power by force or without a legal right. Now, his way was shady, but it was legal. Otherwise, God could have reversed and turned that around. Think about in the Old Testament with Esther. When Haman had sent out that decree on such and such a day, all the Jews through all the land would be wiped out. And the king couldn't change his decree. He had already made it. But he granted Esther, well, I'll give a workaround. Now, every Jew can take up arms and defend himself. And they wiped out the enemy that was coming to destroy them. Think about Daniel before the lion's den. For 30 days, everybody in the nation was to honor and worship only Darius. And you know, that's what those sorcerers and the other soothsayers came up with. Because they knew Daniel went home and he prayed, opened his windows facing Jerusalem and prayed daily to God. And praying that he would one day see his home, Jerusalem, and see the temple rebuilt once again. Darius, he went in there, tried to pull out the scrolls and look, and they were like, "No, we didn't tell you all his wise men came. Look, bro, we told you. You can't reverse it." Now, our presidents and the current administrations can do that when they make a new executive order. So a stay of execution. They will come in and make an executive order. Okay, they said he's going to be gas on tonight. You know, well, I'm going to usurp that, and I'm going to seize it. You know, I'm going to take over that and keep that person. So sometimes those things do happen, but usurping the throne is rarely. But he did it because of our disobedience. To use something without authority or right, to employ wrongfully. And he was scheming and conniving everything he did. It was just selfish, pure selfish motivations. Because he figured, he knew what the prophecy was, Genesis 3:15. And there shall be enmity because of what you did between your seed, talking about the seed of Satan, and the seed of the woman. And your seed will bruise his heel, but her seed will bruise your head, meaning total destruction. So he knew if he could send that curse and usurp that dominion from Adam, wouldn't be no need for a son of Adam to come on the scene in the future and send him to the lake of selfish. The entire episode in the event was for him to get out of what was prophesied against him, and it backfired. Thanks be to God. Because Paul tells us, because if they actually knew what was going to happen, they wouldn't have put him on that cross. They had no idea. So they have knowledge, but they don't have that omniscient knowledge like Yahweh does. Praise God for that. So he's a pretender, usurping a throne on that. Or here's an example here. The magazine usurped copyrighted materials. Oh, and once again, I do not own the copyrights to any of these presentations. The information is taken from the book The Passover King by Travis M. Snow and Birthright by Timothy Alberino. And the last 4 weeks we will do The King's Passover by Pastor Deborah Munson. So these are two of the works that glean this from YouTube. BibleTruthProject.com. Matthew Weaver has great information on the final harvest. Beautiful information. Dr. Michael Heiser's website. So I give credit where credit is due. And I thank them for the opportunity for me to use and share this information with you. So with that in mind, think about the offspring. When the Nephilim were here, Genesis 6, there were giants on the earth. And also after that the angels, the sons of God, looked down on the daughters of men and saw what they would find. They went into a legal compact, a marriage contract. Y'all want our great technology? Y'all want all the bells and whistles? Put it in there. Let's put a contract on there that we can marry your women. Because what was Satan goading him and pumping them on? Remember, he's selfish in all that he's doing, trying to breed out the human genome. If ain't no humans here, if they all wiped out, ain't no need for any judgment to come on me. So he was shady in some of the stuff what he did, but with an offspring, the Nephilim, that hybrid race of beings created. And I'm thinking maybe not always by copulation, although that could happen, because we know Abraham talked to the angels that were there. He didn't know it until afterwards. It said the angel of the Lord. So when they come into this realm, they take on a physical form. They take on a form of humanity. It wasn't no shadow. And what did Jesus tell the disciples when he walked through the wall? Well, touch me. Touch my flesh. Here. Put your hand through my side. Here. Put your hand through the holes in my hand. I'm flesh and blood. And what did he tell them at the resurrection? Give me some fish. I'm hungry. So they have real physical, corporeal bodies. And they wanted that offspring, is what the adversary had tempted and goaded the watchers into doing. Because if there is offspring, they then had that right to rule. So those were some of the first kingdoms and domination over mankind that had happened. Which why it was necessary for there to be a flood. And God said there is wicked and evil only continually on the minds. And the people were crying out. Because if they had to feed these hybrid beings who, could easily have been maybe 9 to 14 feet. We've seen old pictures of skeletons. They're uncovering now, discovering. They try to hide them away. But there were some big folks walking around, and not just the disease of gigantism. There was something else going on when you mingling that seed with the seed of the woman. They were out eating everything, and when man couldn't supply them with enough food, they done ate up everything. They began to eat the human race. But through that, you think about dogs, and they try to make these different breeds. After so long, a German Shepherd is not a German Shepherd. He is almost the Dachshund or whatever y'all keep breeding him with. Y'all breeded out that German Shepherd genome. There's nothing else in him that is German Shepherd. So that's through all of this. This is what he has been trying to do to the human race. To destroy us. Pure and simple. You're a divine being, can do and be and go anywhere. This realm, the invisible realm, the physical realm, these portals and going through these parallel universes and everything. And we stuck like Chuck here on planet Earth. And we're the ones that were to rule over them. I can imagine a sibling rivalry, and you kind of jealous of that baby. It was cute at first, but now you realize that baby's getting all the attention. Oh yeah, there was a lot of hatred. And that hatred is still ongoing. And because man of the earth has dominion and the birthright over the earth, the Bible says that we will judge angels. I never could figure out why would I? What right do I have? But I understand it now, understanding dominion and authority. We're of the clay. We're of this soil. Dominion belongs to us. You transgress and act all raggedy and nasty in this realm, we have the right, because of what you did in this realm, to judge you. And that is powerful. So I'm wanting you to step back and see this big view. There's a whole lot going on in the plan and purpose of God in sending Messiah and on its second coming. There's a whole lot, and there's a whole lot in the invisible realm even going on now. Those kinetic wars that are out there, they're going to come upon the earth. And it's going to say men are going to almost wet their pants for what is coming upon the earth. And the powers of heaven will be shaken. All right, so with those few terms in mind, hybrids, Nephilim, offspring, how he was able to usurp or gain the more authority or dominion in this realm and able to control the earth, those are some ways. And the Nephilim would have almost succeeded in destroying the human race, whether eating them, ruling over them, working them to death, or just breeding out the human race had it not been for the great flood. And there was judgment on what the watchers did. And those who violated the order of creation, they now are in the lowest of the lowest of Sheol. They were in the deepest darkness, the place called Tartarus. And they are there in chains awaiting. And that judgment, when they go into the lake of fire, is coming. They've been trying to bypass all of this. Every bit and part of it. But see, he was just smart enough. You know how you egg somebody on, there's going to be a fight at lunch. Now, they hadn't thought about fighting. And you know, it was a disagreement between these two people. But there's always somebody that's going to egg them on. I keep looking left and right because I've got 3 videos going. I've got Microsoft Teams. I've got my phone to record for YouTube. And I've got Facebook. So I'm not trying to not look at everybody. I'm just trying to accommodate everybody here and be courteous. Girl, you know, I heard, you didn't hear nothing, but you just pumping up this person. I'll be ashamed. I just can't even say what she said. I bet you I know what I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say. And then you tell her. Because you knew what was going to happen. You knew that girl was going to fly up and say, you meet me at lunchtime. And now we all run. So we were goaded. But you ain't the one to go to the principal's office. It's the two that fought. And that's what the adversary, the dark prince, did. He didn't goad all of them to do all of this. But then once they had tasted of the flesh, tasted of the women, tasted of the ability to express lust through a human experience, oh, they liked it. Same way we do, and won't come out of some of our sin. They liked it the same way that we like it. So they weren't wanting to leave, but that was the judgment. And they are in the lowest of the lowest parts because of that sin. And Satan, who goaded and started all of these things in the motion against us and to despise and to thwart the will of God, he's going to be judged and in the lake of fire as well. He may have bypassed it for a few millennia, but it's coming. And woe to the inhabitants of the earth for what is coming upon us. All right, so we'll continue here. I'm on page 2 if you have the Word document. And since the watchers transgress here in our realm, I went over that. And man is the one of the earth, of the soil, of the clay of the earth. Man has that right to rule, as Paul tells us. 1 Corinthians 6, 3-6. Know ye not that we humans, the ones with dominion here, will judge angels? Those that violated the order of creation here, we're going to be the ones judging them. So how much more things than pertain to this life? All right, so despise. To despise something is to feel a strong dislike. You just at variance with it. A phrase I use here, that's like gravy just run all over my plate. It's just that thing that curl your nose all up. So it is a strong dislike for someone or something because you think that person or thing is bad or has no value at all. So just despise and to look down on it, think it's so insignificant. So these two groups despise each other. That would be a way that it would be in a sentence. All right. So I said he despised what we had and who we are and why we are. And what did he do? Defiance. Here's what defiance is. It's a noun, a daring or bold resistance to authority or any opposing force. It is an open disregard or contempt, often followed by or of defiance of anger. His refusal amounted to defiance. That would be an example in a sentence. So as I shared earlier, how God did the bait and switch. It wasn't always the firstborn who gets the birthright, the heirship, and the title to the throne should go to that firstborn. We know of a few occasions in the Bible where they switch. Remember, it wasn't Cain, it was to Seth. The birthright didn't go to Ishmael, it went to Isaac. The birthright didn't go to the firstborn Esau, it went to Jacob. David had 6 other brothers and he probably had sisters too. It didn't go to any of them. It went to David. What did Joseph say upon his deathbed when he was Ephraim and Manasseh, those boys before him? And they said, no, 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 Daddy, you got it wrong. This one's the oldest right here. And he's, I know what I'm doing. He said, because that's what happened to me. This is what God's plan is. So God will kind of wean away. He's going to weed out the wheat and the tares. They'll grow up for a while together, but there's going to come a harvest. And all this stuff is going to be, that chaff is going to go and fade away like the wind. So you have contempt and disregard for his word and his way. He has an answer for you. But my beloved, put your faith and hope in Jesus the Christ. There's no other means under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. It is imperative as we move into these last days, as so many things with this digital world we're in, as so many things begin to converge, you're going to pray and wish somebody like me or anyone watching this would have told you more. Now is the acceptable time. Do not reject the calling of the Lord when he calls your name. Today you can put your faith, hope, and trust in Jesus Christ and the power of his blood. So now let's look at another term that we use today that's going along with birthright, usurpation, and a regent. So we have talked about this in Bible study. A regent. This is a person appointed to administer in a country because the monarch maybe isn't a minor or absent or incapacitated. So, you know, when they have those state dinners and the prime minister of Japan comes here to America and they come off the plane and he is that regent. So he's acting in the stead of the king. When he gets up on the podium and whatever he's saying, it's as if he is the king saying that thing because the king has already been in his ear. When you go over there as my ambassador, this is exactly what you tell them. So there's a seal. We had talked about a seal or a signet when they had those scrolls in the ancient days, and the king would have that signet ring and they put wax on it and to seal it to ensure nobody had opened that but to the reader, and he stamped that seal. So we were talking about that seal. What would it be? You think about it. Look at a coin. What is on a coin? An image. So we have talked about that. In the image of man, in the image of God created him God. I forget how it goes. But we are in the image and the likeness of God. We bear his seal. His seal or his covering like Adam and Eve had in the garden. I believe in my speculation, it was that seal. It was us having that image. That's what gives us dominion and the birthright on the right to rule on earth because of that seal. And as Dr. Michael Heiser said, we are his imagers. Jesus said, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. That was a promise that was given to Abraham, and through you, your seed, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. By them following and obeying the commands of God, people around seeing the majesty and glory and the bounty God was doing in their lives, knowing that there's this distinction in this nation. How can we be like that? How can we know your God? So that's what that was, that light. We are as imagers, we are to express his love, extend and exhibit his power as his imagers. So that is what the regent would do, that ambassador in the stead of the king. Now, because of that idolatry and rebellion and disobedience, what happened? Forfeiture. We've talked about that abdication where you relinquish something or you give it up. So he can't steal it from us. We have the legal right, but we can relinquish it. We can forfeit our right, which is what we did by disobedience. We abdicated that dominion and authority over to the prince, the power of the air. And his motives were only selfish. If I can bring the offspring of the watchers through, breed out the human genome, no need for the son of Adam to come. Hey, no lake of fire for me. I'm good. So it was all about him the whole time as he's egging and influencing the minds of man archons, powers, and principalities to do his bidding for the dragon and his princes. So to forfeit, it means to lose the right to do or to have something because you've broken the rule. If you cancel now, you forfeit your deposit. That would be a way you would see that in a sentence. These people have forfeited the right to live in society. So remember, we bear the seal. We bear his image. We are his imagers. We have that certificate of authentication. We go anywhere in the name of Jesus and by the power of his blood. We decree it and declare it. He said, in my name, I will, in my stead. When you are speaking that, it's as if me, the word, is bringing that in. We have talked about it in Bible study. He is the Father in creation, the Son in redemption, and Spirit in regeneration. That triuneness, the triunity of God, Son, and Spirit. We have that legal right. We have that authority if we do not forfeit that by idolatry and sin. Let's see, where am I? Okay, the next one, we're still on page 2 at the very bottom. So, antediluvian, that's another word we have talked about. Antediluvian meaning before the flood, in the days of Noah. Remember, Noah's father was Lamech. His grandfather was Methuselah. So then his great-grandfather was Enoch. Enoch is the one that brought the judgment on the watchers. God had told them, you tell them. They were like, go unto God for it. We know they violated the order of creation. The sons of God going into the daughters of women, making that hybrid Nephilim race. An offspring that will grow and multiply to breed out the human genome. There would be no humans left had it not been for the blood. It was Enoch who judged them and told them what God was going to do. So, antediluvian, that is the biblical flood with Noah's Ark. Generally, though, the word is used often humorously now to describe something that is really, really old. And in the popular language, antediluvian is used to exaggerate something, how comically and ridiculously old and out of date this something is. So when we say antediluvian, or think of before the Civil War, you hear that. Antebellum, before Bedlam, the before the Civil War. Ante, A-N-T-E, meaning before. Anti, meaning against or opposed or trying to replace. So there's ante and anti on that. And that's all I know about Latin, as I can't tell you nothing else. All right, so the terms watchers and archons. I've used that a few times, and that was in the PowerPoint slides today from Birthright by Timothy Alberino. And the reason of his usurpation and wanting domination of the earth to avoid his own fate and the power that we have through the blood of the Lamb. So the term watchers and archons. The term watchers in the Bible is only found in the book of Daniel. It is the same as holy ones. So remember, Daniel had gone in and had another, Nebuchadnezzar had another dream. He gave it to him this time, but he didn't have a clue of what it meant. And Daniel, he just waited and he held off. He was like, come on in, come on. I know you know what, I know your God has already told you what, come on in. And Daniel was like, I feel bad because there's nothing good in it for you. I just hate to be the bearer of it because I don't know what might happen to me in telling. He said, it don't matter, just tell me. Daniel said, I've warned you. God has warned you. You have been cruel to those you have subjected and subjugated and have dominion over. You don't take care of his people. You got all these people captive and you got them worshiping you as God. That first vision I gave you was showing you your downfall. All you saw in it was his head of gold and you make an image. And now I want everybody to bow down to you. You haven't changed your ways. I'm telling you now, if you don't get it together, this is what's going to happen to you. That's what your vision is. This is by order and decree of the watchers. And I believe the King James Version says watchers, and I think the English Standard Version has the holy ones. So that's what that is. The watchers or the archons were part of that violation of creation with the seed of woman. So it is an order of angels responsible to watch over world leaders and report how they fulfill God's plans. We also see that in Deuteronomy 32, 8 and 9. In essence, God was like, okay, this was after the flood and rebuilding the earth, restarting his plan and purpose again to bring forth the son of Adam to redeem the world. But he was now weaning the wheat and the chaff away. He was going from nation down to tribes, down from tribes to a certain clan, from a clan to a family, and from that family of brothers and sisters singling out down to one line, David. So this was God's plan as it was going forward. Deuteronomy 32 says, okay, after the Tower of Babel, y'all like that? Y'all want to continue to live like that? The way Nimrod, also a deity called Ninurta. He is also the deity Marduk. He didn't change his name back and forth. The same person, revamping himself, rebranding himself. But after that rebellion at the tower and God separated, he said, go on. Y'all not going to follow my will and rule and wait? Fine, because my plan's going forward. Pushed all the other nations away, and that's what you read in Genesis 10. And Ham, Shem, this is his genealogy. And this one begat this one. And this one, and then he goes to Ham, Japheth, and then lastly Shem. And then from Shem to this one, and from this one, from Terah, and to Adam, to Abram. And then he comes through that line. And Deuteronomy 32, 8 and 9, he said, go on, you all do and rule over them, but my inheritance will be Jacob. So he gave him a clue. It gave him prophecy right there. It would be through Jacob, through Israel, who wasn't even born yet, but he's already prophesying. Through this seed will the son of Adam come and redeem the world from this usurpation. So as this was slowly progressing through the heavens while receiving detailed explanations of their content from his angelic interpreters, and one of them, the patriarch, encounters the group of fallen angels whom authors of the Apocalypse Apocrypha, those were books that aren't in the canon. There were lots of books written and stories of events that were going on, but only through the Council of Nicaea, when they made that ruling, we're going to take these 66. They're the ones that really show the plan and the purpose of God, show him as God, show God the Father, Son through these. Some of these other books don't even reference God. They won't even want Esther put out. Esther shouldn't count. She don't say nothing in there about God. She said, let us fast and pray. And if I perish, I perish. And I think that's about all she says about God. They didn't even want to recognize that. For those that are really conservative and just follow strictly Torah, meaning the first 5 books of the Bible, they don't even look at the law and the prophets. They don't recognize any of that but the first 5. Genesis, Exodus, Deuteronomy, and Numbers. That's all that they look at. But in some of those non-canonical books, although Peter references Enoch and Jude also references Enoch. So somewhere there was a book of Enoch. There are 2 false book of Enochs out there, the book of giants. So you got to be real careful, because as the word was coming through and our teachings, Gnosticism was going on at the same time. So these 2 seeds warring, that bringing information and power unto salvation. This other stream, deceiver, the enemy of our soul, bringing confusion, delusion, deception, and people are falling for it every day under the power of that strong delusion, and it's only going to increase. So Enoch was the man of the earth. Remember, it's by man who has dominion to judge. Enoch was the one who gave the decree of the watchers. Those who violated who would be sent and condemned in Sheol until the end of the age, when they and the dragon and his princes go into the lake of fire. All right, so it is Daniel 4:22 where that is. It is thou, O king, you have become strong, because of your greatness has grown and reaches into the heavens, and your dominion to the end of the earth. Daniel 4:23. And whereas the king saw a watcher and a holy one. Oh, and I didn't write which translation. This is either King James or ESV. I mostly use those two. It says it right there. So a watcher and a holy one coming down from heaven, saying, cut down the tree, destroy it, yet leave the stump, the roots thereof, even with a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let its portion be with the beasts of the field till 7 times, 7 years pass over. And that is exactly what happened. He went out after that, forgot all about that, and being Nebuchadnezzar as he was, looking at his hanging gardens and his statues still out there of gold, he looking at himself, and you know how we do. Look at all that I've done. Look at me. I have, my granddad used to say, oh, I'm on tall cotton now. Oh, he thinking he on tall cotton. And the decree came down like a bolt of lightning. There was a shout in the heavens, and it is so. We warned you. And just like that, he had lost his mind. He out there eating the grass with the cows, chewing the cud, until he came to acknowledge that God is God and there is no one but him. His whole life changed. And after that, he just kind of fades off the scene. And then we see his son coming. And then that night, after the handwriting on the wall, Darius comes in, the Medes and Cyrus in Persia. He really became insignificant at that time. And I believe it was because he was changed by having that encounter with God. And like one of the last kings of Judah, Manasseh, it says he is the worst that was ever before him. And there will never be a king that was as wicked or as debased as Manasseh. But when he was taken into Babylon, I think he had a revelation too. Something happened to him, and so we have in the non-canonical books, you can pull that up on Google if you want, Manasseh's prayer, the prayer of Manasseh, and it is in the Apocrypha or the Latin Vulgate. You have a Catholic Bible, in the middle of that, it would have that, the prayer of Manasseh, him having that, I seen the light. So he don't think God can't touch you. He can. And I pray it's with his grace and love, as he has drawn us by his loving kindness than with his wrath and judgment. So these are the angels and powers and dominions that violated the order of creation as designed by God, mingling their seed with the seed of women, whether by copulation or genetic manipulation, because that's why they made that marital compact with those women. They liked all the shiny toys like we do. Yo, you like this? Well, you let me marry a few of your women. I'll give you the technology. You want to know how we fly and how we able to do mathematics and write and geometry and do all this trigonometry? We'll show you how we do that. Let us have a few of your women. And they liked it. And that's what happened here. Mingling their seed through copulation or genetic tinkering, it happened. There were giants in those days and also after that. Genesis 6:6. They are chained in Sheol, in the lower parts of the outer darkness, for their crimes against humanity. Humanity is referenced in 2 Peter and in Jude. This is what 2 Peter 2:4 says. For if God spared not the angels who sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment, what you think he's going to do about your raggedness in your life? And in Jude 6 also references here the archons, the fallen angels, and the judgment given to them upon by Enoch. Jude 6. I will therefore put you in remembrance, though you once knew this, how that the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterward destroyed them that believed not. And the angels who didn't keep their first estate, their first habitation, and we'll get to the word Orchitarian in just a minute, that dwelling of that house. And we've sung that song, if that earthly house be dissolved, we have a house made in the heavens, not made by men. Y'all, we've sung that song. But that habitation, that house, this vessel that we're in, there's a realm and there's an estate For a man, there's an estate or a realm of flesh for fish in the water, something that's different for mammals. That's why cows can't mate with mules and have a cule or whatever you would call it. Some of those things cannot breed because their genomes are entirely different. And in the angels in the unseen realm, they're of a different type of estate or habitation. So in order to come into our realm, they have to take on a different type of orchitarian. And that's why they like the flesh. And through that flesh could experience the lust of humanity. And that is exactly what they did and liked it. So he goes on here. The angels kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation or housing or dwelling on that great day. And even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to what? Fornication, going over after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. So those are a couple of references there of that fallen state on that. And here we go right here. Orchitarian. Oikterion. Couldn't tell you if it's Latin or Greek. I just pulled this off of search engine. It is a dwelling or a habitation. The Jude passage speaks of the angels who left their habitation, their dwelling, that whatever type of angelic flesh you have. To operate here, you have to have a human flesh. Remember when Abram came out and greeted the three men? He cooked and he sat down and ate. He wasn't afraid of them like he was seeing an angel or a vapor or a mist. It wasn't any ghosts. They were flesh and blood. So to be here, the angel of the Lord, who was the Lord, the Word, before he even became the Word through Mary, he was here doing and acting and glory to God, doing all kind of stuff. But they have to have a certain kind of habitation or a suit to be here. Just as the Bible tells us, we shall be changed. Because when we leave here, this flesh is going to fade away. There will be a different type of habitation or dwelling when we go into that eternal state. We will have a different type of house for our soul and our spirit as we join in the family of God. And you can find that in 1 Corinthians 15 and 39. For all flesh is not the same. There is one kind for humans. There's another kind for the birds, another for animals, and there's another for fish. So everybody has their own body suit, their body wear, whatever word you want to use. So the angels too, they left their flesh from the unseen realm to operate and walk and move around among us here on the earth. And they left that and enjoyed what they had here during the human experience. And then it says here, and enjoyed it. And they desired offspring. And even still after that, they lusted after it. And then they defiled it. And that's what brought the judgment and the flood upon the earth. Otherwise, no flesh would have been saved. And that's the same thing Jesus says in the Olivet Discourse, and we'll get to that to the end. He said, if I don't step in, intervene, and finally wrap this thing up, no flesh would be saved. So this is serious. We can continue to play church if you want to, but we just read before, Jesus said a tree is known by his fruit. You may look like us. You might dance like us. You may think you acting like us. But after a while, the sour gonna seep out. You not like us. You not us. So be very careful. Be very sure which side you are standing on in the last days. So since the Nephilim, once they died and the judgment of the flood came upon them, well, they were a mixed breed. They were a mixed race. They were part angelic or whatever that material was. But then they were also of humanity. So hell isn't really fit for them because they're not of earth. But then they can't go in the unseen realm in the heavens because they're not truly angelic. They're this mixed breed. So when they die, they're still wandering and roaming the earth. So the demons, that word is demon. Hold on, let me get the word right here. Demons are the spirits of the dead Nephilim, and they wander like wraiths. Raiths is that word, because they really have no house fit for heaven nor fit for hell. They are spirits, demons. They wander and roam the earth as wraiths, looking for bodies. Think about a meth head. He's not interested of being a president, of changing laws, of being in any role. A meth head, he's looking for his next fix. And that's exactly what a demon is looking for. He's looking for another shell, another housing, so he can experience that lust through that flesh again. That's all that's on their minds, day after day, in and out. So there's that big difference on them, a demon. When a person is possessed or heavily influenced, they just out of their mind. It just because they only have this one just lust, desire. Timothy Alberino on YouTube, he was talking about, and I can't remember it, he had talked about one of the first Pirates of the Caribbean. And one of those guys or something on that, or a ghost or something. And he said that's all he thought about was the apple. He didn't care about anything else but to be able to bite into the apple, like a meth head. He ain't thinking about nothing else but his next hit. So that's what a demon. So their spirit, the spirit of Nephilims, are walking and roaming, ghost-like as wraiths and vapors, desiring to express their lust through human flesh. And I believe Job talks about that, them wandering to and fro like wraiths. And I believe that is in Job, and I forgot to put that in here. So archons, all right, that is a Manichaeism word. The archon is not in the Bible. It is a non-canonical, meaning not of the canon, not of the 66 assigned books of the Holy Book. But there are other sources that use that word, and Gnosticism. Through that they use that term, but I like it because angel isn't a person, it's an occupation. An angel is a messenger, but we don't know actually what they are or what they call themselves. It's just what we call them, and we'll find all those names out by and by. And like I said in Bible study, not that we know these terms and phrases. You just watch people and you'll know those on the Lord's side and those who are not. So be very discerning as we move forward in the humanity this experience that we call life. So there has to be another reset for the human race, and there is still a reset that is yet to come. Deuteronomy 32:8-9 that I had referenced earlier about God. My inheritance is going to be Jacob. You can have this old word, you can have all that, but I take Israel for mine. So it says, when the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, this was after the Babylon, Tower of Babel event. He fixed the borders of the people. Go on, follow those archons. You want Marduk, you want Nimrod, you want Ninurta, you want Baal over there. Okay, you want Zeus, you want whatever, Zarathustra, or whoever the pharaohs, whoever they worship, will go on. But I'm going to single out from the line of Seth, the son of Adam, to bring through the seed of David, seed of Abraham, as I promised to David. Sorry for stumbling over my words. This partial really makes me stutter. I try hard not to stutter, and of course what happens? You stutter. All right, archons, rulers of a realm within the kingdom of darkness, who together make up the prince of darkness, the dragon and his princes. So when you see that word, it is different than archangels. That's just another side word. They're not, one is for good. Michael standing up for the prince, standing up for Israel. Even to this day, he is standing up. But after a while, he gonna pull it back as God commands him. And the restrainer will be moved, whether Michael or the spirit is going to be removed. So, okay, I got to let what's supposed to happen, let it happen. So there's going to be a time he's not going to defend the dominion on the earth, because there are things that have to be fulfilled for the Messiah to fulfill every jot and tittle that the prophet said the role of a Messiah would accomplish. So it must all be completed. Praise the Lord. All right, so terms and phrases that you'll currently read now in the news. You see this in movies now. And we're just about finished, or I may not even get to all of these. Thank you all being here. Microsoft Teams. I cut off Zoom. Facebook, thank you for being here. Okay, transhumanism. This may be something that you hear a lot now. Human 2.0, the singularity. These are digital words that you hear now in this AI technical world that we are moving closer to in this age of Aquarius, going back to the golden age. But I can assure you, Israel didn't call any of that the golden age when the flood was coming. It wasn't a golden age. It was a golden age to them because they were in defiance and rebelling God. It was no golden age for those who were subjected to them and under their foot. There was no golden age for them. If it was so golden, why did judgment need to happen in way of a flood? So it wasn't that golden. But that's a lie that is going to continue to go forward. They're just going to continually believe the strong delusion. It's sad. And not that we demean and look down. We must pray that Lord have mercy on them. We don't really wish that wrath upon anyone. But everybody has to make that choice for themselves. So choose wisely. The transhumanism. It's the belief or the current theory that the human race can evolve from its and beyond its current physical and mental limitations. Remember the $6 million man? We can make him stronger and faster and smarter. You remember? We used to love Wonder Woman and the $6 million man. So that transhumanism, cyborg. Let's go ahead and interface and get that neural network. Go on there and upload your brain to your laptop if you want to. I'm a pass. But those are things that are coming as we go further into this digital economy. The next 100, 200 years, I don't know how far in the future, but it is coming. Let's take off the restraints, the things that limit us. Then we go back to that saying, we want to be free. You are free in the liberty of God, but they don't want these kind of liberties because they don't want anybody telling them what to do. Yeah, so wrong thinking. All right, it is an intermediary form between human and post-human. So that's kind of that transition phase, transhuman. So it's right at the betwixt and between. We're at the end of the human experience, and now we're about to go to human 2.0, the post-human. So where this digital place is going to be is transhumanism. There are philosophers and teachers, hundreds of books. Just go on Amazon, just type it, or Google, transhumanism. Pull up all of the videos. Everybody's talking about the important how that we're just going to need that because we're just devolving and we're degrading. Even geneticists, we have so many genetic defects and mutations, and pretty soon we're almost going to be sterile because we're about to just devolve into nothingness. We're not even going to be able to breathe. So to save yourselves, to be redeemed from that, we've got an answer. Be careful of that false answer. The transhuman, resembling a human in most respects, but who has the powers and abilities beyond those of standard humans. And the people are going to want that. If you want this job or you want to even be able to interview for this, you have to have these skills. You have to have this degree. You're going to have to be able to perform at this peak level. And people are going to want and desire that. To not have these diseases, and you want to be able to perfect your child and make them your next generation, your progeny, your offspring, not have these defections of sickle cell or diabetes. Let's do this. And they won't have any of those genetic anomalies. People are going to buy into that because they want to believe that we can have perfection here on this earth. And this earth is already being judged and is and will be fading and will be gone away for a new heaven and a new earth, because all these former things are going to be passed away. But that wrong thinking is going to lead them into believing we can be better. We can upgrade our humanity with a patch. You know, if I can get that software patch, if you just give me that that injection right here, just under my skin, make me smarter and faster. And the competition is going to be great to be able to succeed or have certain housing. Social credit scores are going to demand and warrant these things. We saw that over the last 3 years, who either wore protection or didn't because of the algorithm. I'm not going to say anything, but you know what we wear, and many of us still wear to keep pestilences and diseases from us. We have covering over our faces. There are some people, you know, who wouldn't. So they want to be free of all that kind of stuff. So we saw that there. There's going to be that competition. You either have it, you can't come in the movie theater if you're not wearing this. If you can't show us your card to show that you've had this implementation, you can't come in here in the store right now. So we saw that experience. We saw an introduction to that. So we saw that soft disclosure. It was just kind of measuring and weighing us out. Let's test it out and see how the world's really going to react. And then they're going to throw the real thing on us in the near future. And that's what usually happens. Problem, reaction, solution. They create an event and manipulate a problem. And then we get the crying, reaction. Oh, we can't handle this. We can't handle it. Even though it was contrived and manufactured. They want to see how we all respond, how we post, what's going to be on the top feed. And seeing that algorithm is seeing, getting feedback, learning from us, increasing his knowledge of how we think, how we respond. Oh, we have an answer. Problem, reaction, solution. We got something for you. We can take care of that. That is the Hegelian dialectic, that problem, action, solution. So the term transhumanism was coined by an English biologist and philosopher, Julian Huxley, which is different from Alistair Huxley or whatever his name is. Different Huxley, and this is Huxley in 1957. The posthumanism. Posthumanism is the goal and the philosophy that is out now by numerous elite establishments with a desire to upgrade humanity. We need a soft patch in order to survive that's going to be coming. To be able to live off-world. If there's going to be another solar flare or, what do you call those things? They're saying these magnetic things are going to wipe out all the electronics. 48 hours. That was a good book. The Day After, One Day After, where I can't remember what that word is or something. Anyway, it wipes out all the electronics and stuff. So we're just thrown back 200 years. We don't know how to cook. We can't build a fire. I can't put two sticks together and draw a fire now if my life depended on it. So to be able to live off-world, if any kind of catastrophe happens, you need to get this soft patch, this software patch. Now, people, baby boomers, or they may remember their parents or grandparents talking about these phrases during World War II. Übermensch, you probably remember that word. Superman, that's the German word for Superman, the super race. That ideology by Hitler, Desjardins, and Nietzsche. We're going to be better than evolution. We're going to control and we're going to steer and direct our own evolution. That's that thinking for an Übermensch. And ideology taught beginning the era of spiritualism about 1875 to 1947. Do you know just about, and I've heard records and reports that probably 80% of the world during that time, from the Civil War Reconstruction to the end of the World War II, the spiritism that went on, the seances. It wasn't, people would get together like you might get together for cards on the weekend or Saturday. Y'all get together for dominoes or watch something on Prime. They get together for seances to call up Big Mama. It was just a fad back then. All that witchcraft and sorcery. going on throughout the world. And we know what came right after that. The drop in, tune out, and the LSD movement. All of that just opened people up to the prince of the power of the air being able to continue to just wreak havoc upon the earth. So it was an era of spiritualism, not spirit, not Christ-like in any way. Please don't get that term confused. And they're even striving currently now with the current artificial intelligence. They have general intelligence, but they're hoping and wanting to get to that sentience where that thing comes alive, and we just don't know what is going to happen when that takes place. And genetics, a way and a means to restart and to complete it. They want to complete it in our present age. A good example of post-humanism comes from movies and science fiction, gothic and horror literature, cyborgs, Alien, Men in Black, The Matrix. We see all of that. We watch all of those movies. The Exorcist, Superman, Spider-Man. How are they moving and getting all of those things? There's been some type of upgrade to their humanity. The X-Men, those hybrids, those mutations that had happened to make them bigger, smarter, faster, wiser, and everybody is going to want what's on the other side. Everything that glitters ain't gold. Alrighty here. All right. Aliens, monsters, and they have for centuries asked us to question where the human ends and where that other is going to begin. So we're right now in the middle of that, in that age of transhumanism. I remain the dust and the clay that I am, till the Lord calls for me or sends for me. I don't need any software upgrades for me. No, thank you. To each his own, but that's what's coming in the future. This is one of the core principles of post-humanism, and as such, they provide fertile ground for post-human analysis. Here's something else. Post-humanists really hate Darwin and the evolution theory, and Nietzsche said it has no purpose. It was just something random that happened. It was just a beast or something just trying to survive, the survival of the fittest. So what they're wanting to do is that targeted evolution in making and creating this Ubermensch. And Hitler took it to the next level with his occult. And that's why they went to every continent looking for obscure religions and spells and incantation, trying to find all of these different things, witchcraft, trying to find whatever they could to be able to upgrade the humanity into that super race, that Ubermensch. Let's see, where was I here? To make them become more, I didn't finish here. They hate Darwin, because that evolution theory has no purpose. It's just random and means of survival. Their desire, here it is, the will to power. And that's what the philosophy of Nietzsche was, the will to power. We will direct our own evolution. We will determine how best we want to be upgraded and evolve out of humanity. And that's the same lie that Satan had given in the garden. And become more than just mere men. So Ubermensch is a figure to be used as an ideal for humanity, the Superman, and not a particular individual. Nietzsche presents the Ubermensch most famously in his book, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Witchcraft and Sorcery. Please be careful reading those Gnostic books, where he critiques the objectivist morality of traditional religions. So, of course, he looked down and poo-pooed Christianity and Buddhism. Anything that liked the status quo, they wanted to be something better. No one else to judge or condemn them. And that's why the snowflakes, even now, they get so sensitive. Well, you want me to respect your choice and accommodate you, but I'm defending my choice to continue to walk and live this way. But now you're offended and want to take me to court because you won't respect my choice. It's just, but that's where we are, and there it is. And that's what goes on. They won't understand. Like First John 3, it says, behold, what manner of love the Father has bestowed upon us. They don't understand us. They can't understand us. It's like water and oil. They're not us. They're not of us, not of God. They will never understand us. So when you're trying to appease, we love them and are kind. We don't try to appease or accommodate or change any of our values or beliefs for theirs. They're the ones walking in darkness and pray that and hope that they are the ones that find that life. So he poo-pooed Christianity and Buddhism. So it is an ideal adhered and followed by the Nazi occultists to breed the master race. And of course, that goal and desire was to evolve out of Adam. We don't want anything to do with that, because anything tied to Adam ties and chains us to that deity, to Yahweh, and of course, the sons of darkness. Lucifer is the true light, and that's all the false teaching. There's even a book now I was looking at. At first, I was like, oh, Lord have mercy, but I looked at it because I wanted to see what it was. It's the Gospel According to Satan. So it's not written by a Satanist. I hadn't read all of it, so I'm not asking or telling anyone to go by and look at that. But I thought it was written by a Satanist, the more Gnosticism, what they believe. Lucifer is the light, and it's Yahweh who is the evil Lord, and Jesus is the one that we need to defeat when he comes back, bringing the strong delusion. Everything perverted, everything inverted. But he's the person who wrote that is sharing these are the ways of deceit that has insinuated itself. And these are some of the false phrase and ideology that people are going to grab onto because they're looking for something. And Jesus and they were at the Mount of Transfiguration. They opened their eyes and there was no one save Jesus only. There's no Jesus but, there's no Jesus and, it's Jesus and Jesus alone. So when you're looking for something else, there will be things out there and those ideologies that will be attractive to them, which is sad. And yet again, it is an attempt to breed out the human genome. If there's no human, there's no need for a son of Adam. There needs to be no judgment on me, and I'm good. I can avoid the lake of fire. Purely selfish motives through and through. Everything that's been done by the dragon and his princes is for his own selfishness, for his own self-protection. He didn't care try to defend the watchers. He didn't stand, I goaded them into it. He didn't say nothing, but he knew his judgment was still coming. Though he know he just clean enough. His hands are just clean enough. But the day of reckoning is coming for the man of lawlessness as well. Human 2.0 will not be human, and they may potentially forfeit, remember, give up, abandon, lose that right to something. They may forfeit the right to the kingdom of heaven by despising the word and the will of God through this same defiance and sorcery. Samuel said rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. He said to obey is better than to hearken and listen is better than the fat of lambs. When he had told Saul, what is the bleating of the sheep I hear? Did not say all, A-L-L, so all means all. What's Agag do? What? Well, I felt pressured by the people. What did I tell you? I'm the one that's hearing from God. What? And he's like, okay. So you continue to despise what God is saying. Continue with that defiance, which is a sorcery and witchcraft. It is an attitude of we will evolve out of man, out of the human condition and the will to power. The ideal of Nietzsche, as well as Nazism, Eastern mysticism, and philosophy. And back to the word dominion. Only mankind has the right, the heirship, the authority to rule on planet Earth. And because we're of the earth, that is why Paul said, we will judge angels. You violate and transgress laws in our realm, you will be judged by us from this realm. And I never could figure that out for years and years. And I was like, oh, and then I got it. Understanding more about that birthright and dominion and the right to rule. So usurp, and we went through the rest of the genome, is that haploid, those chromosomes which make us us. And if you continue to breed out a donkey and a mule, after a while they're sterile. They can't breed that anymore. And if we're not careful with all of these genetic tinkerings that we're doing, as in the days of Noah, it's going to almost breed out humanity. So these are catastrophic things that will be coming on the earth. And these things are very important, but we remain watchful, steadfast, and guarded, walking in the will and the way of the Lord. Our victory and the ability to overcome is through suffering. It doesn't always mean overcoming, and he's going to take us out of suffering. There are some things that we will have to go through. They love not their lives unto death. And for some, that glory came to them through the death. But in and through it all, God is with you. The 3 Hebrew boys, whether he show up and deliver us or not, be it known unto you, Nebuchadnezzar, we will not bow. And they rested in that. They had no clue of what was going to happen in that fire. They trusted in God. And if he don't, he don't. But we still ain't going to worship you. And Nebuchadnezzar rose up on his throne and said, what is that? I see 4 men in the fire, and one is like the Son of God. God will be through with you and to bring you through whatever crisis or situation you or your family is now in, a co-worker, or that we may go through in the future, or our offspring. Train up your children to know and profess Jesus Christ now while we have time, while there's still laws that allow us to do the things that we do. Because even in that pestilence that we experienced in the last 4 years, there were some that banned going to certain places. It was illegal to do this. So many to assemble. Those type of things will happen again as pestilence and strong delusions come on. We'll be so hated and so offended. It's just like they just can't stand to look at it. It's just anything, a light, a goodness about them, it just curls the nose straight up. But that's that enmity. Genesis 3:15, that hatred between the seed of Satan and the seed of the woman. It's that division. They're just going to hate. And there'll be time we'll be restricted and limited even on how we assemble to worship God. Take advantage and be grateful for the privileges that we have now. Okay, so it is 8:30. I've been going since 6, or 5:30 really. I'm going to wrap this up, and then I forgot to plug in the charger, so this thing is probably going to die over here. But it's just a few other phrases that are on that presentation. Shoot me a message or email or text me. You want this Word document. I just pulled a few phrases and terminology from Birthright, the book Timothy Alberino that we are studying through the Passover series, along with Travis M. Snow, the Passover King. These were just a few phrases that were coming up during the Passover and the Exodus event. And why they were singled out, because what we had talked about how it began is, well, how come they were so suchy-muchy? Why were they so special? There were other people enslaved at that time. They weren't the only people enslaved by the pharaohs of Egypt at that time. They were the rulers of the known world. Everybody was in bondage and in subjection to them. You're exactly right. But according to Deuteronomy 32 and 8 and 9, you all do what you want to do. My focus is going to be on my inheritance is with, and it's going to be through Jacob, through Israel. So that's why there was a distinction and why they were separated. Because to the son of Adam, through Shem, through Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, David, Solomon, would come the seed of the son of Adam, Jesus, the Most High God. So all of this cloning and hybridization, everything that's coming in our future, the technologies, the software patches for us to upgrade ourselves, if we ever want to go off-world, all of that is an effort to breed you and me out. So know where you stand with your faith in Christ Jesus being solid. So as Paul says in Romans 8:38, for I am persuaded, I'm convinced that neither death nor life, angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, things to come, height, depth, any other creature will not be able to separate me from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus our Lord. It's like I know that I know that I know. And that's the place where he wants us. Because the children of God, wrath is not going to be appointed to us. But that doesn't mean that there still won't be persecution. And we'll see a lot of trials and hardships as we get, or they get to that day where the man of lawlessness is revealed. We may be gone. We don't even know the day or the hour of when that progression and all of those things will converge. Just focus on today, where you stand in him right now, stable, fixed, and secure in the hand and the will of God. Well, I thank you all for hanging out. The only other few terms, if you want to write those and just look those up, we didn't go into any of these deeply at all, because we were talking about that distinction and why were the Hebrews protected. Why did the angel of death pass over that group? Because God had a plan, and it was going to continue to progress. It had a delay. There was a restart with the flood. He promised Abraham they'd be here over 400 years, but I'm going to restart again. This is that reset and bringing them out. And trust me, it was a whole lot of people at that time. It wasn't no Amistad, but a whole lot of people were jumping ship. When them gates opened and Moses and 1 million folk marched out, I'd have been slipping and tipping. If the gates of my prison were taken off and the shackles removed, I'm running too. And like, maybe I don't go with Moses and them all the way, but I'm going to get out of here. So there are a lot of people freed and liberated, so they even benefited in that, from them being freed from Egypt. And even in the scriptures it said, and do this for the stranger, do this for the traveler, for the sojourner. They would do these type of festivals and perform in this way because they're not Israel, but they are foreigners, but they can participate and be part of what you are doing and be blessed as a sojourner. When you're going out in the field in the harvest, don't be pulling off every seed. Leave some on the ground for the strangers and the foreigners that are around, benefiting off of the blessings that you're getting. So other people were blessed by them as well coming out. And they came out indeed. So hybridization, just a few more terms, and we'll see that more in the future. But the last thing I'll share that I shared in Bible study, it's not important to focus on these phrases or terms, to look them up in your search engine. I want to see it, how many times I see this on Twitter today. But you become aware of these things because you'll start hearing stuff. Don't quite gel with me. That's the discernment that the Spirit gives the born again believer. And you'll sense these things coming. Something not right about that. So the terms and phrases that we're using, they'll probably change into something else in 100 years. What we focus on is the tree is known by its fruit. You just watch what people do, not so much as what they say. Jesus said in Luke 4:43 and Matthew 12 and 33, a tree is known by its fruit. So guard your hearts against that and be discerning. And now we're becoming so comfortable with our Google Maps and vehicles, Siri and Alexa wake me up and play my music now, turn my lights. We're getting so dependent on all of this. But there's coming a time, there's going to be another distinction when God is going to pull out the harvest as they throw up the wheat and the chaff. And it's the chaff that's going to be blown away into the fire. And it is the wheat, his children, the offspring, the birthright, our sonship, our dominion and right, for the privilege to be in the family of God. Lastly, I was kidding a minute ago, but this is it. Here it is, 1 John 3. Behold, what manner of love the Father has bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God. Therefore the world knoweth us not, because it knew him not. That's what I said. Don't be alarmed. Don't try to always appease and please everybody. They don't get you. They will never get you, because you have the light and the glory of God on you. They'll never understand. Pray that they'll be drawn by that, and because of that difference, want the type of peace that you have. That's what we shine forth. That's what we show and express into the world. Though it don't know us, it don't get us, because they don't get him. And beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it does not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when we see him, we will see him, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. So every man that hath this hope in him purifieth himself, even as he is pure. All right, good people, grace and peace. Reverend Winston, St. Paul, Tulsa, good to have you here. Thank you. Sister Renee, Flipper Chapel, Taft. Oh, don't forget, everybody, collect your glasses. I'll be in Tulsa. I haven't posted it yet. I'll be in Tulsa next weekend. I'll meet whoever, whatever churches for the eyeglass rally. The Flipper Taffel and the Taft churches are collecting old eyeglasses. They have an optometrist that is going to repair those, and they're going to send those over to the overseas missions. So get those glasses in by March 31st. I'll announce that next week. I'll be at a meeting place somewhere in Tulsa. Reverend Winston, you can get some glasses together for me. Text me. Meet me here or wherever, and I can collect the box of glasses. So please announce that this weekend. This is Palm Sunday week, is it? Oh, yes. Palm Sunday. Praise the Lord. All right, everybody. God bless you. The Lord's grace and peace be with each of you. I love you with the love of the Lord. Bye now. Thanks, Renee. Bye, everybody. All right, over here, I forgot which one is Teams and which one is camera for YouTube. Well, anyway, thank you, everybody. It was only a few more, just a few more terms. Just one, really, and I'm finished. GRIN, G-R-I-N, acronym, the phrase genetics, G-R-I-N, genetics, robotics, artificial intelligence, and in nanotechnology. Those are technologies now, like STEM, you see that moving forward and all of that. Remember, that hybrid, that mix, and Daniel said, like oil and water, the toads mingling their seed with the seed of man, it ain't gonna mix, but they're gonna try to the very end to breed out the human genome. So these are ways in the future. And a lot of these philosophers and scientists and geneticists are good people. I'm not saying anything is wrong with them. Their hearts, most of them, are in the right places. They don't know the puppets and the puppet masters behind there pulling the strings, funding these things, which you see in good faith, that will help people with diabetes, help people with neuropathy, and all of that. You see the good, and you're wanting to invent that thing for the good that it can do for humanity. But it's not going to be available and afforded to everybody. Is what happens with everything. It's only going to be offered to a select few, and with a great cost to have it. And most of us peons are those human 1.0 that I will stay with as long as God lets me. Some of those things will not be available to us. But I don't need to upgrade into anything, because I have been already upgraded into the kingdom of God. I will have a robe of righteousness, and that is good enough for me. So genetics, robotics, artificial intelligence, and nanotechnology. Think of the $6 million man. You remember that? Back then, the what special effects that they use. We can make him better, stronger, faster. And this will be part of the post-human thinking and ideology paradigm going forward. This is the dystopia, like the book 1984. These are the raging insanities that we'll see on the earth at that time. And the dragon is his princess, moving behind the scenes, steady influencing, moving on people to transform the human race, to breed out our humanness out of us. And so we'll begin to see once again the evil, devilish workings of Aleister Crowley, who lived from like 1875 to after World War II, 1947. And his Thelema cult and all of that, we shall be as gods. And you can look at your rappers today. I think one of them, his wife's name starts with a B. Sasha something is her alter ego, that ascended master. Where do you think that stuff comes from? You know what I'm saying? These things are given to me by Sasha, this altered experience that I'm having. Okay, be careful watching and following it. But they're the ones now adopting all of this. Do what thou wilt. And that was Crowley's thing. If it feel good, do it. Do what thou wilt. And that should be the whole of the law or the rule. Let's see, where is it? And there's nothing Christian about this. Current rappers use it. Do what thou wilt. It reflects a defiance and disregard for the things of God. These attitudes of unbelief and arrogance will surely preface the war with Yahweh, the kinetic war, not seen since the antediluvian period of Noah and the flood in Genesis 6. It'll be upon the earth. So I can count on my hand 5 stars who have stated publicly their gifts. Actors who saying that gift to be in that moment as that character, by my altar, because they're listening to this guided spirit. Be careful of that. Frank Peretti, if you want some good books on spiritual warfare, old books out in the 70s, some of the phrases and terms are just so old, but the power behind them and the intent, beautiful words of spiritual warfare, and how, and it's a fiction book, but just to see how people are influenced behind literature and education that's changed over to this type of mathematics. Now, let's rule this out of the school. Let's get all the children engineered and drilled and learning this type of thinking to make them all robots and sterile is what they're trying to do. Everybody docile. Anybody rising up. What they call it now, that something man, they just hate that masculinity or whatever that phrase is. Toxic masculinity. All that testosterone. Oh yeah, and the food and stuff. You have to breathe that out of it. Yeah, to tamper down rebellion and defiance from us who follow the ways of God. And the same thing is coming. They follow their ascended master or their guided spirit. Frank Peretti, This Present Darkness. He's got two books, This Present Darkness, and just look up Frank, Peretti or Peretti. Awesome books. If you've never got those, get them on Audible, Kindle. Phenomenal. You'll glean a whole new insight of the watchers and the archangels working behind the scenes now, defending man's right, the dominion on this earth. Beautiful books if you kind of want understanding about that going forward. And so Crowley, he was a complicated and lost soul, a fascist, racist, occultic, bisexual who practiced ritual sexual abuse on many, which is enhanced by trauma-based mind control. Those people who have the dissociative disorder, split personality, think of the movie Sybil, because there were such abuses going on, children of 2 and 3 being raped and assaulted, because in occultic worlds, the purity and innocence of a young one, breaking that virginity and then blood, and through that ritual, it fractures their ego. And like they do in the military, you go into basic training, they break your own ego and identity down, where you rely on everything that major says, and you have become this unit. It's no more you, but it's we. Ain't no I in team. You lose your own individuality that way. And that's what happens in that. To protect those children when they would rape or whatever, and that child had no way to understand what's going on, their ego and their mind would just fracture. So Mary may be the one that works at Walmart, but Kevin works at Bricktown Brewery. So when anything will come up to maybe remind them of those traumatic events as a child, that's when Sybil would have these other people. She had no idea anything, and gradually begin to introduce them and to be able to have all of them assimilate back into that one Sybil that wasn't the real name, but it was a true story, to meet and understand what that person was really protecting her from. But trauma-based mind control does the same thing, that shock and awe. So then when some event like that happens, whether contrived or real, I'm not saying anything, and we're glued to the TV 24 hours, we're just shocked by that's happening on TV, whether it be buildings coming down, whatever those events are that are happening, and we glue it, and that's another form of trauma-based mind control. When that happens, turn the volume down. Don't listen to what the commentators are saying. Just watch what's happening and discern for yourself what's going on, or read something. And that way you're not buying into whatever that lie is they may be trying to feed you. When that kind of stuff, turn the volume down. Don't listen to them. Just see the event and be very discerning. Get up. Don't stand there and watch that stuff. It's another way of kind of hypnotizing and bringing you in to that type of belief. But those are things that occultists use, that trauma-based mind control. And that Pederasty and pedophilia and sexual abuse, ritual sexual abuse on children is key to that. What's that movie? The Mechanism Man or what? Oh, Manchurian Candidate. That's the thing that happened in that movie. They wanted that guy to assassinate, and so they had them go that trauma-based mind control thing. And so when somebody would say, fish teach, it got to be in that trend. Like the guy who, Robert Kennedy, Sirhan. They're now believing and really accepting that is exactly what happened to him, that he was the ultimate Manchurian candidate on that. And he was so susceptible to hypnotism, just even in those appointments. He had been so entrained in that he could just sit and just go into and be something other. Those are definitely the people that they like and use. So trust me, all of those dark things do happen on planet Earth right now. Thank God from the blood that he has shielded and protected us and our children from those things. But Chrysler used all of these phrases and ideology, and so many people followed and practiced that during the time of the seances and witchcraft and all of the things that were going on. Do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And that was their belief, and it's coming around even now. Those religions that just enough, he was wicked just enough to not be put in chains at that time. The offspring, the watchers, they were just human enough, but enough to breed out the human genome had it not been for the flood. He has been crafty and deceitful in everything from the beginning. But God got a plan for him to be assured, my beloved. God is in control of it all. We're not going to go through any of this, but on that, same thing with the 60s and 70s. Because of that, what stemmed out of that? The turn on, tune in, and drop out. That I need that internal freedom. Everybody want to be free from something. They want to be free from the restraint. I don't want no chains holding me. That means you don't want to obey anybody. You like it the way you like it. And just say that. But there's all of the ideologies they like, so they don't keep from having to follow the right way. And that was Timothy Leary back there in that mantra and all that LSD craze back then and the free love. All of that period. It's coming around again. They think that was a golden age. Wasn't very golden to the Hebrews. It was a time of suffering and persecution like the world had not seen since. But it is once again coming upon the earth. Hold fast the profession of your faith, as we are told in the book of Hebrews. So, things that happen on that dissociative altered memory, that Sybil I was talking about, the split personality, how that's induced is by stress, memories, implanting false memories, strong emotions, certain smells, senses, alcohol, substance abuse, LSD, MK Ultra, all of that. You can go to YouTube and look at some of those old videos, things that were paid for by and our great U.S. of America, paid for those studies in those universities. So why do they always go in favor of these things? Because they're paying for that grant. They're paying their salary for a year. So of course they're going to lean that way. But if this government was paying them this much, they lean that way too. So they don't care because they can, you can change those studies and samples whichever way you want them to look favorable or disfavorable, whoever is fitting the bill. So those are the things that are going on that they went through these things. It was paid for by the U.S. of America, MK Ultra. The letter M, the letter K, ULTRA. In a specific situation like Sirhan, bless his heart. Just a sad, sad story. And in some cases, these triggers are not even known. And sometimes it is through hypnotism and psychotherapy that they're found out and then integrated. They're introduced to those things that they've been protected from and see what actually happened. But I'm not one for hypnotism. Just seek Christian counseling. But anybody who needs help, please get help from someone. And that's part of that trauma-based mind control that happens in the pederast community around the world, in trafficking and human trafficking that goes on every day, 24/7. We're not going through the metaphysical and those terms, a golden age, idyllic and imaginary past. That wasn't very golden to those who had to endure that. So we're going to finish here, and that really is the rest. The last two are just some Cornell University studies. So we're finished with that. All right, thanks everybody. I'm going to try to do better each week if I bring in new terms or phrases to make sure to attach a document with it. So these are the terminology. Once again, the phrases and the terminology isn't important. Watch what people do, not necessarily what they say. And you'll know it when you see the day approaching. Stand firm. And like Corey Ten Boom said, stand therefore until you get what you standing there for. Now unto him that is able to keep you from falling and to present us faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy. To the only wise God, our Savior, be glory, majesty, dominion, and power, henceforth, now, and forevermore. And the people of God said, Amen. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your evening. Thank you for being here with Peter's Chapel A.M.E. Church doing our Lenten Spring Bible series. The Passover King, a book by Travis M. Snow. You can get that at any bookstore, Amazon. The book Birthright by Timothy Alberino. Both of these people have their own websites too. Travis Snow, I'm not sure what his website is, but you can put that in Google and it'll come up. Timothy Alberino is timothyalberino.com. A lot of information on both of them, podcasts and videos on YouTube. Alberino is on, I believe, Instagram, and I follow and listen to a lot of his stuff from either YouTube or Twitter. So the information is out there. Also, Dr. Michael Heiser, phenomenal works by him, Supernatural, The Unseen Realm, Reversing Herman, powerful words, really showing and teaching most of the Christian community now about the ancient Near East and the thinking of the early church fathers when we're studying and teaching. What were they experiencing? What was that mindset? Teaching us to think in those ways instead of looking down. They weren't ignorant. Just because we couldn't understand what they were doing, they were communicating, getting information out. They had a way. And shame on us for calling them ignorant and unlearned when some of that stuff is still lasting even today. With Michael Heiser, beautiful work. And the one that's really brought out to many people in the Christian community. Deuteronomy 32, 8 and 9, that God's inheritance, what he going to pull out for himself for the Son of Man was, my inheritance will be Israel, and Jacob will be my inheritance. So phenomenal work by the three of those. The BibleTruthProject.com, and that is also on YouTube. Matthew Weaver, a young man, I don't believe any type of professor or master's or doctorate. Wonderful man, beautiful spirit, just wants to learn and has interviews with different people, gleaning through the word, teaching what the word is saying. And quite a few videos from him over the last 2 or 3 years. I just found that playlist within the last week. And I've been writing and rewriting a lot of his stuff and then sharing those even in the Bible studies. But information, and I give credit where credit is due. I own no copyright to any of this information. I thank God for the wisdom that he gave each of these individuals to write books and go through that editing process. For good or for bad, whether it broke them or they're benefiting financially for it, being able to provide whatever way God moved them. And I thank God for them putting that out there for us, opening our eyes to have us more honed in, tuned in, and focused on what God has done in the past and doing in our lives and what he will yet do in our future. Be ready. And as Jesus said, occupy till I come. Bye for now, everybody. All right, now I have to figure out which videos I have going and where. Okay, goodbye.